and welcome to this week's episode, Cowboys Takeover. I'm your host, Mr. Jason Kent, with me as always, the esteemed one, Mr. Aaron James. Aaron, we're not going to get into the game yet, so we don't have to be all disappointed. How was your day today, sir? How are you feeling today? How was your weekend? Anything good happen?
Anything good? I don't know if anything good happened. I mean, I had mom's cooking, which is nice.
Dude, mom's cooking's always the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some homemade cooking, yeah. And I'm sure after that cooking, after that performance on Sunday, it might have come back up. It was bad. It was a rough one. That's the the joys you get with week one and come down crashing crashing down in week two, and then come crashing down real hard. And I think all the positives. It's very upsetting, And sometimes I don't know how to get right now. I was thinking yesterday, and you're going through the game, and I went back and I watched over it after, so I knew the score, I knew how bad it was, but you just, man, the week before, I think how Cleveland, we held them to how many third? I think it was like 2 of 13 or something like that. Last week against Green Bay or against New Orleans, I said we had to have a big third down week again. And outside of the last third down, because they were kneeling, they were 5 of 7. So not only were we not getting them in the third downs, we weren't even stopping them when we were. Most of the third downs when you're going through the game, they had a 3rd and 12. Outside of, they had 2 3rd and 12s technically because their last kneel, but a 3rd and 12, like a 3rd and 9, and the rest are like 3rd and 2s. So we did not do a great job of stopping this team early. Aaron, when you really look at it, because I think there's a lot to really digest. In terms of that defense, what were your biggest takeaways from week one going into week two? What did you see different in that defense that seemed week one do a lot of things right?
Well, I think this team was the Saints. That is, were really, really well prepared for the game. They knew what they wanted to do. They were really, not only did they rush for over 5.5 yards and did what they wanted to do on the ground game, which I'm sure we'll get into, but they were really beating us on like crossing routes, like on the dig routes. And I think, well, for one, we also couldn't get any pressure, which, if you're not in your 3rd and long situations, that's generally when our defense tends to eat. I think what I'm most concerned about is that we really showed a blueprint for other teams that we're going to be facing and how to attack our run defense, in particular on the left side. I feel like they just kept going to the left side, and no matter if Micah was on that side or not, and had a lot of success. Now, I did see at the same time our linebackers take some really bad angles. So, I think if I'm trying to be optimistic here, there will be this could be a blessing where we start to really get a little bit more granular, because our opponents are going to see the same thing on tape. So hopefully it gives us the best chance to fix going forward.
Yeah, and I think what bothered me the most, and I know we've talked a lot, even since we started this podcast about the Dallas run defense and how it's missing. And when you look at it yesterday, I think this really encapsulated what that defense is, because when you look at it, a lot of times when you think, okay, they got 5.5 yards per carry, you're thinking, okay, there's a few big runs in there. There's probably a 30 or 40-yard run. When you look at the game yesterday, the longest rush for this team was 15 yards. So that just tells you, like, they're not. It's not a few like 1-2 yards and then they're breaking stuff. They are constantly beating you down, and that's what worries me the most is going into this season. I know, you had said early on, last season's last season, and in terms of run defense, and we thought maybe the change of defensive coordinator, may help that, and you're switching up the defense. But I think when you look at the way the defense is built, it's tough because they are a smaller defense, and 5.5 yards to carry is unacceptable. You're not going to win a championship that game. And I think you're right. That's what makes me the most nervous, because I think we both believed this was a changed defense going into this season. And it's tough when you look at it now. If this is what we're up against, it's going to be a very long season, because you can't give up. There's other teams that have a better running game than this New Orleans Saints. And when you look at it, 5.5 yards a carry, what's funny, and when you look at the average, they completed 11 passes. Derek Carr completed 11 passes for 243 yards. Okay. The receivers, this is the average per catch, Rashid had 96 yards on 4 catches, 24 yards on average. Olave, 4 for 81. 20. Like these, it's just a big play. And the guy we both said we need to kind of shut down had 170, 180 yards against us. So it's a little disheartening seeing that defense. And it's, when they're not getting to the quarterback, they're a very, very average defense.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really not, to your point, not that Derek Carr lit us up. I mean, it was 6 minutes into the second quarter, I wrote down, that he had his first incompletion. He really did what he wanted to do, and he really also didn't have to do all that much. They had the screenplay that went for 50 plus, and then the deep pass, which I think was their second or third touchdown. So, it's the big plays. Big plays that gash you.
And when you're not getting it, and I think because what we've been accustomed to is this defense, really getting the quarterback and the takeaways. And yes, Carr did have a turnover in the game, but I think it was the game was well out of hand at that point. When Derek Carr had that turn, it was when you're giving up, it hurts bad, because it's upset. I'm annoyed. I'm very annoyed at Dak as well with that, with the offense, but I can't. When you look at the defense, when you give up a touchdown every drive in the first half, like we can't get one stop. It's 35 points, and then they went on to give up a touchdown in 6 straight drives. They coming out of half. Their defense, the next offensive possession. So I don't know what you can change. I don't. There's not really like you're not going to face a team. I think New Orleans is a little bit better. I think Derek Carr is also a very good quarterback. People forget we're out as welcome in Oakland, Cleveland, or LA, whatever they are. The Rams or no Raiders. We're out as welcome. And last year just wasn't that he knew he was gone. So I knew he could be a good quarterback. He can make plays. And New Orleans is a team that has playmakers. And it's really tough. It was nice to see CD make a play too, taking one to the house, but it seems like there's not a lot of offensive firepower either. It feels like Dak. I feel like so far Dak and CD have not earned really. I know CD had, but I feel like Dak's not earning he's the highest paid quarterback. He's the highest paid player in NFL history. Dak, to me, so when you're looking at that, now that was another issue with paying Dak is you don't have the money for defense. And now we're seeing, so man, I'm worried right now. Am I overreacting?
I do think you're overreacting. And that's my message for this game overall. It's week 2. It was ugly. We got punched in the mouth, but and it's easy and tempting to overreact. But
we don't have a run game, bro. We don't have a run game either.
It's week 2. And I agree with you that so from an offensive standpoint, we're not built to keep up with teams that are going to be scoring 40 plus points on offensive production, right? It's not even like we were giving the ball to them. They were just straight up scoring. We were exchanging touchdowns for field goals.
That's another issue, yeah.
So I think trade deadline, we're going to have to do something. I think we're going to either have to trade for a top performing running back still on their rookie deal, or possibly a number 2 receiver.
I think
think that's going to
the
have to
running
happen.
back to me at this point, a running back's much more important because like we came into this season. I know I predicted a very high season for Dak, because I thought he'd be passing as many times as he would, but I also thought he'd have that last year look as well. He'd have that guy come out, even or that look where those first 4 games of the season before he blew out his leg. I thought that was the Dak we were going to see this year coming in. And then he got his deal last moment, and he really hasn't, because you got like Derek Carr's over on this other team, and I know they have the big plays, but you got to match. You can't match Derek Carr. You got to do something, and you're getting paid to go out there and do this. And in games where you need your quarterback to perform at home, I expected a better offensive performance as well. You're at home after last season averaging over 30 points a week this season at home. In a game where your defense does kind of crap the bed, I need my quarterback. You're getting paid to be the best quarterback, you're the best player in the NFL. I don't care if you are or not. That's what your contract says. Your contract says you need to go out and perform, and that wasn't good enough either. You need to be putting up those touchdowns. So I'm a little, I don't say time to hit the panic button, but I don't know if they're as good as I thought they were going into the season, because I don't think New Orleans is a Super Bowl contender, and they just manhandled our defense. So when you get a team like, if you're saying right now, I'm looking up to get to the upper echelon, I don't know if we're there, and I don't know how to I don't think we can get there right away. And I agree with you. This team, I didn't realize the loss of Pollard would be this significant where we can't run the ball at all. That I didn't expect it to look like that, because you have to be able to go out and run the ball. And they didn't look great week 1, and they did not look good at all last week or this week 2. So I agree with you. I do think they have to look at making a move for a running back, and it's tough because there were a couple guys out there that you could have went out and had, and you see Derrick Henry going out, like all these. Saquon got signed. Aaron Jones is over up in Minnesota doing really well. I forget who signed Jacobs with. So there was such a big running back market, and that was the other problem with needing to pay all of our guys is you can't go out and get a running back, and now that, and I don't know if Dak is a guy that can lead you to the promised land without like kind of everything with it. And right now, this no running game, it's going to be tough. That's all I can say, because if we need the lead.
Yeah, we do. And when it comes to the running, I mean, I think the team's going to have to experience a good amount of pain for Jerry to show that move of desperation, like making the change. To me, and I don't know if he's still available, but Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt seemed to me to show a lot more juice, a lot more burst in the wheels, especially over Dalvin Cook. But we'll see if Dalvin gets a chance and having some play time. I do think we could do a better job at trying to get Deuce Vaughn in space, and give him that chance. Is he going to be able to make something happen, make a guy or two miss or not? Get him in space. Don't hand them off the ball and expect them to run through. Well, we can't even create enough holes for Zeke to fit through. And we also really don't have as much questions we have about our O-line. We don't have a lot of depth. So you saw Zach Martin get banged up a little bit. We're going to have to be, fingers crossed on keeping the O-line completely healthy all season long. I think we have some work to do. Are you still confident on our 13-game wins?
Man, no, I'm not, because when I look at it, I really thought this Saints game would be better, but you do have the Ravens, so it depends, because I still think they're better than some of those teams. But looking at I think I gave wins against the Lions and San Fran. I think some of those looking at it now, they're with that defense. I know San Fran's banged up now as well because they lost Debo too. I think it has, but I know I'm not confident in that. I'm definitely not confident in 14. I don't know if I'm confident in 13 either. Not
Mm.
after this week's performance. To me, this is probably a 10-11 win team, probably now.
I think it's going to depend on how we bounce back against the Ravens, and we'll get into that on Thursday. But yeah, Ravens are going to be in for they're in desperation mode now. Going 0-2, where statistically you only have an 11% chance of making the playoffs uh, when you start 0-2. But I mean, yeah, back to our offense. Dak needs more help. It was nice to see Tolbert catch a deep ball.
Yeah.
You see Brooks kind of fall down when running a route. Dak threw. Dak had one. One of the two picks was more on him than anything else. But also to start the second half, he had the fumble. We were fortunate to recover. So you just we need to do better. I didn't see a lot of creativity with McCarthy.
No.
It just seems like a vanilla offense, very predictable. So I am worried right now. I'm not going to overreact. I'm just these are all NFL teams, and it was an ugly, dominating blowout, but I'm not going to overreact on one game, week 2 of the season.
Yeah, no, it is tough. I do think I do downgrade them some, but I would I agree with the creativity as well. Like, I want to see Turpin get more, because if you can't, you may not have to run the ball every time, but yet you could, get Turpin in there, get some of those quick moving plays, like you said, kind of get him on the move. Maybe not just not a reverse or, but there's different ways you can get them moving and get that quick out to them and let them go make plays. So I would like to see a little more creativity, but the problem is now, like, you're really stuck with Dak. So, and McCarthy, this is what we're going to have. This is McCarthy till the end of the year. So you hope they can figure something out, and you hope they can really look at this game. Now, I think this game is a wake up call for Jerry as well. Like, I don't, you have to, it has to be. Like, I know you're saying it's week 2, don't overreact, but man, you're paying your quarterback that kind of money. I expect better results. And it really does hurt. It hurts everything else. We need a run game. I really feel like that now. You have to alleviate some of that pressure on Dak. When Dak was having his best seasons, a lot of them they were with Zeke really pounding that ball. So, I don't know who you can go get, but I think the run game does need to be addressed. And same with that run defense. But I'm not as worried. Zimmer, I think, will have him ready going forward. I do trust that defense to rebound more. It's more kind of the offensive productivity I don't trust as much for this season, is where I lie.
Yeah, I'm there. So look, on a scale of 1 out of 10, worried. I'm at a 5 right now.
I would say that's pretty high. For week 2. That is high, but I think they give us reason. 5 out of 10. 10's pat. If you're kind of in the middle on week 2, we got 15 more weeks left, bud. That's going up at some point, especially when Baltimore goes in and Lamar's running all over that Dallas stadium this week. We'll not get into that. I hope he doesn't. But yeah, because they're not the same team. But yeah, I think 5's pretty high. I think I would say a 5 as well.
Maybe a 4 then. Maybe a 4. Because I'm not losing any sleep at night right now.
No, I don't think the season's over. I still think they're a playoff team. But my expectations of one of the best teams in the NFC is definitely not that, like things like that. Kind of Super Bowl I feel like they should be outside of San Fran, probably the second. Now that's gone because depending on how the Eagles look tonight, I'm not as impressed. I don't think Dallas has all the offensive weapons as some of these other teams, and their defense isn't as good now. So I think all of them need to look themselves in the face. I think them as a unit. They do have to come out and rebound. Like you said, we'll be back this week on Thursday to discuss the Baltimore week coming up. 1-1, neither one of us had that. Hey, Madden got it wrong as well. So we're not the only ones here. I'm glad Madden didn't get it right because it would have made us look like fools. but Madden got it wrong as well. So we really appreciate everyone coming out this week speaking, or listening to us, watching us. If you are on YouTube, if you're listening now on Spotify, we are back up on all your streaming podcasts. Apple Music, I think Apple does it, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts. If you're watching us on the Ring the Bell Network, if you're watching us on Cowboys Takeover podcast, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, get those notifications when we do come live. Thank you so much. And anybody watching on Twitter, we appreciate you as well. We love you all. Thank you all so much. But we will be back Thursday to discuss this, hopefully a little bit better week than this week. Coming up against Baltimore, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson coming into Dallas for back-to-back home week. Home games. You kind of hope Dak can show up. You hope that defense is rested. You don't know what you're going to see, but we will go in, dive deep into Baltimore, kind of what they bring to the table, bringing in the Big D. But yeah, it's a tough week, man. I'm just a loss for words. I didn't expect. Well, I was laughing when I text Aaron. I was like, "Yo, listen, Sunday. I'm not gonna be able to do a podcast Sunday. I got my last home Phillies game of the year. We gotta go Monday." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." And then I get a message back later, as long as they win, with the crying emojis, laughing so hard, because neither one of us thought this was happening. So it's just a rough week. We didn't expect it. A lot went wrong. So we hope more things go right. We know what we need to correct. We hope they're this week practicing. I hope it left a bad taste in their mouth, because it really did all of ours as well, of us fans. So thank you all for listening. Please check us out. We'll be up here Thursday night. Got to get the time right, because I think get back to school night, so I got to work that out on air. But we'll definitely be here Thursday night, coming to podcast discussing next week against Baltimore. Thank you all. We love you all. Let's go Cowboys. You may be 1-1, but you're still number one in our hearts. We love you all. We're winning this division still. Let's go Cowboys.